confidence is where a lot of the speed comes in. Oh my goodness! Saves it! How in the world?
It comes from very far back, but was able to get the car slowed up.
And he knew. Look at how early he positioned himself. I would not have been that confident. That is amazing. What a save from Warren. And there, yeah, that is brave stuff. Rent doesn't usually offer up a chance to pass. And then Warren, who was eager to try and retake it, looked like I thought he was going to get a great run on the front stretch, just goosed it too hard.
Oh, and their teammates apparently, from what I've been told. So yeah, rule number 1: never hit your teammate. And let's take a look at what happened. So that's Karjalainen going around the outside of the S's, getting the car to roll through. He's got the inside for the corner, a little bit of a slide. And I don't know about you, DJ, but that's going to be a racing incident, I think, 50-50.
Olton is a very, very narrow circuit. You're not able to get as clear as you think, as we got a little bit of side-by-side talk about aggressive moves from a Jordan Svetanov.
Jordan Svetanov's not done, though, here, because Steven Oro was trying to get back underneath.
We're still side by side with Sanchez, though. He's given it another go. Did he learn lessons from last time? This time he cuts back a lot earlier. Will that help him out as he goes for the back and forth once again? But this time, Walker is the one who has gotten wise from that one. He covers off, clear around the outside, though. Holy cow! Sanchez learned his own little trick, and that's the one that gets him the spot.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike. My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect. How's it going, Sally? Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they go into the top and the spider's in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me. Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Spartan Transportation and Spartan Logistic Management is your one source for all your shipping needs. 53-foot dry van shipments, auto transport shipments, full-service in-house brokerage, drop-lot facilities, just-in-time deliveries to all auto manufacturers, facilities in St. Louis, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, and Indianapolis, Indiana. Spartan Logistics LLC, proud sponsor of the IROC series, Kyle Steffens UMP Modified and Silver Crown driver, and Gordy Gundaker, World of Outlaws late model. Visit us at spartan-logistics.net or find us on Facebook.
The season kicked off at Daytona with an exciting dead heat to the finish line. Well, if you liked that, we go from one superspeedway to another. There's sure to be high-octane action, multiple cars deep at Auto Club Speedway as we get ready for round 2 of the IROC Challenge Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Reese Gardner, and with me in the booth is Chris Phoebe. Behind the scenes is our director, Joe Peak, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Auto Club's days as a super speedway are numbered, but for now, it'll continue to challenge drivers in its current form with its incredible high speeds. Let's learn about it with the track guide.
Located in sunny California, a little bit to the east of Los Angeles, lies the Auto Club Speedway. This 2-mile D-shaped oval constructed on the site of a former steel mill in 1995 by Roger Penske and opened to the racing world in 1996. Auto Club plays host to regular NASCAR action every year in the spring, but has also played host to IndyCar several times in its past, including a closed track speed record of 241.428 miles per hour set by Gilles de Ferran in October of 2000. Auto Club draws a lot of similarities to the Michigan International Speedway as the tracks are sister versions of each other. Michigan has the more banking, but Auto Club is wider. Speaking of wide open is the name of the game for Auto Club, as the track's 14 degrees of banking that awaits the drivers in the corner really lends for some great racing. It is not surprising to see them 3, maybe even 4 wide in the corners here. Auto Club is notorious for chewing up tires, so as the driver you have to make sure that your car goes fast, but then you also have to make sure that you can keep the tires on it. Auto Club also has not been repaved since the track opened, leaving the track surface to become very bumpy, especially on the back stretch and down the front stretch. All in all, Auto Club is a staple of every series that comes there. Drivers love the place, fans love to watch races at this place. Put it all together, and you have a recipe for surefire success. This has been our guide to the Auto Club Speedway. Enjoy the show.
Well, Chris, we love Auto Club Speedway here. It's known mainly for its IndyCar racing, but it puts on a great show in the stock cars too, doesn't it?
That's right. It's a big 2-mile oval. It's got a little bit of progressive banking. It's got a nice worn-out surface. It races, like you said, very similar to a super speedway, especially with the tapered spacer on the NASCAR Xfinity Camaro. So this will be a lot of fun, I think. It's going to be a lot of drafting, a lot of teamwork we'll see. Kind of similar to what we saw a couple weeks back at Daytona. So I think we're in for a pretty exciting race here with the added fun of high tire degradation.
Indeed. Tyres are going to be a big issue in this race. We're going for 100 laps here tonight. We'd like to take a moment to thank the sponsors of this series. First off, Zoe's Place. The mission of Zoe's Place Child Advocacy Centre is to minimise trauma to child victims of sexual abuse and neglect by providing a centralised, safe and child-friendly facility from which a multidisciplinary team conducts investigations and intervention activities. Our goals are to reduce trauma, seek justice and foster hope and healing for children and their non-offending caregivers. Our vision is to foster hope and, yes, and to provide nurturance, hope and healing for children and their families. It's also brought to you by R&R Racewear, your source to all your custom racewear apparel needs and home to iRacing apparel. Check it out today at rnrracewear.com. Do you have questions about parenting or non-toxic living? Visit evidencebasedmummy.com, where Dr. Samantha Radford combines science and wellness to help parents and kids thrive. We're also proud to celebrate the Lucky Finn Project, who has created a nationwide support network for parents of kids with limb differences and provides limb difference education and awareness. Find more info at luckyfinnproject.org. We'd also like to give a shout out to Loud Pedal TV, and, of course, 5-star graphics. Well, Chris, this championship is working out to be quite an interesting one. Daytona, of course, the only round completed so far. Aaron Smith leading by 24 points after a very exciting race.
Yeah, there was a lot of highs and lows for these drivers at Daytona, but Aaron Smith definitely came out with the highest of highs there, coming out with the points lead coming into the second race of the season.
Indeed. We've also got Brian McCann and Mr. Quick there in the equal points distribution there. Let's take a look at the race details for tonight as the drivers are in their final few laps in the practice session. We've got 100 laps coming up here at Auto Club Speedway. Fixed setups, of course, no spare car, 4 total tyre sets, and 3 attempts at a green-white checkered. We did have a few cautions at Daytona, Chris, so let's see how Auto Club fares.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't call Daytona a crash fest, but it did have enough cautions that these drivers were definitely kept on their toes, and strategy played a role at certain parts of the race.
Well, Chris Mefford is on top of the practice session at the moment. Championship leader Aaron Smith there in 4th at the moment. Once again, the gaps are incredibly close, this being a super speedway. What can we expect here for when the race first goes live, Chris? Because we're racing in sunset conditions. This race might just finish in the dark.
Well, it does take a couple laps for these cars to get all the way up to speed, so they're going to be all jockeying for position on the first couple laps, trying to get things wound up and get going. So it'll be a little bit processional, I think, for the first opening couple laps, but once they get up to full song, if last week or a couple weeks ago was any indication, things are going to be pretty aggressive here. I expect there's a couple drivers that seem to have really mastered managing the pace, and I think we'll see that management of the race become a huge role, but I think also that we'll have maybe a few surprises that maybe push the issue as far as tires and pit strategy go.
Indeed, Auto Club is a quite large and quite fast track, but as you can see from this practice session footage, the drivers are having to lift into the turns. The banking is quite flat here at Auto Club. It's nowhere near as big as at Daytona. It's only 14 degrees in the turns with an 11-degree front stretch and a 3-degree back stretch. Brian McCann here in 5th place. You can see he's having to lift on the way into these corners, try and hook up the inside. The line through these turns has changed quite a bit over the years. I remember in the past, drivers had to run about a lane up or a seam up from the white line, but it seems that these drivers are sticking all the way to the inside here, Chris.
Yeah, I think as the race goes on, I think we'll see more drivers work their way up towards the wall. Another big thing here is how bumpy this track is. I mentioned it's an older surface, but there's a lot of bumps, and there's you can see the lines in the track that's kind of got a bit of a sealant down there that can sometimes goof up the drivers too if they catch it the wrong way. Can sometimes send you for a ride. So there's a lot to be cognizant of as far as the track surface goes. In addition to the roughness of it, it's also really bumpy. It'll rattle the teeth right out of you.
Indeed, it will. I've had a few bits of experience of racing at Fontana in the past. I'm not much of an oval racer myself, but I have experimented with it, dipped my toes in from time to time, and yeah, Auto Club is incredibly bumpy. The number 44 making their way down here. The back stretch, very flat, very wide as well, Chris. We know all about the open wheel racing at Auto Club Speedway, but just have a look at how small the cars are here compared to the width of the racing surface. I think on the first lap, there's a chance we might see 4 wide, maybe even 5 wide in the mid-pack.
Yeah, definitely. This place is just ridiculously wide. I don't know off the top of my head what the exact width measurement is, but it is huge. There's so much room here, and once things get warmed up and rolling, I mean, you can just race it 4 or 5 wide, like you said.
All right. Practice is over. The drivers already ran qualifying in a separate session tonight, so we're going to go straight into the grid for this 100-lap race at Auto Club Speedway, setting up the championship well in round 2. Aaron Smith was once again the fastest driver, pole at Daytona and pole at Auto Club. He starts alongside Brian McCann. Chris Mefford and Brian Kaufman will take up the second row. Nathan Bishop and Brandon Mefford are going to start 5th and 6th, with James Kaufman and Chris Wally 7th and 8th. Top 10 rounded out by Kevin McCann and Todd Willis.
And your next group of starters are led off by Hunter Tate inside of row number 6 with Mike Cook to his outside. Bill Walker will be lucky 13th with Jason Higginbotham to his outside. Then it's going to be another Hunter Clark with Kyle Pendergraft next to him. Then Neil Quick and Jarrett Widener in row number 9. Completing your top 20 starters are going to be Cook Quick and Douglas Wasaki.
It's a big field tonight, 38 cars in the server. 21st of them is going to be David Trumbley starting alongside Stoney Benfield. Gary Ragland and Joshua Funkhauser will share the 12th row with Tim Schofield and Donnie Lyons behind them. Damon Cox and Curtis Rogers 27th and 28th, with Brian Reek and Jamie Abril in 30th place.
And the next chunk of drivers, Brandon Leclerc in 31st, Dakota Clark 32nd. Then it's David Brown, Jesse King, Troy Radford, Mike Harper, and the field closed out by Matthew Kopp and Ray Radford.
What a big field of NASCAR Xfinity Camaros taking to the grid here at Auto Club, and we've seen that a couple of drivers have had a couple of issues getting out of pit lane. On cameras tonight, we got Mike Koch starting out in 12th place, and my beard is feeling very insignificant compared to his. We've also got Kevin McCann in the number 33. Nice wide curved monitor there for him. Starting out of 9th place, coming from the Carolinas. Brian McCann is going to be starting the number 3, and he has got a very nice setup as well. That is a proper stock car steering wheel, that. And finally, we have got Brian Reek, who's going to be starting well here tonight. The final cam and triple monitor squad, shout out. Getting some nice weaving in on the formation lap to get some final heat into his tyres. It's a single formation lap here at Auto Club Speedway, so let's bring things to an open here. Chris Mefford is going to take the start here because our pole sitter decided to start at the back. You see him way off in the distance, Aaron Smith. And into turn 1 for the first time, they come too wide. Moving up the track, Chris Mefford try and widen the line into turn 1.
And it's a pretty clean start. You can already see the cars starting to fan out here. 3-4 wide around 1 and 2 as they head down the back straightaway. We got somebody going rogue there, the 33 car, taking a trip off course there, but he gets back on. Seems to be no issues.
Well, Chris Mefford not quite pressured at the moment, but Brian McCann almost running 3 wide for second place with Brian Kaufman and Nathan Bishop. Excellent move there by the 3 to get into second place at the end of lap 1. So there's your running order, and Aaron Smith has already made his way up to 32nd. He's going for a challenging drive tonight, starting on pole, but deciding to take the start from the back of the grid. Brian Kaufman on board from the rear here, got 2 wide just up behind him almost. Nathan Bishop and James Kaufman there. Kaufman's going to have to move up. He does, and covers off Chris Wally on the way into turns 3 and 4.
And you can see that drive off turn 4 there as you head into the D-shaped front stretch. I mean, you can really arc the runoff there and dive to the bottom of the track, and it does actually gain you some time to come down that hill there. But you see a lot of them running right up towards the wall, and they'll be running to the outside there, and already some people trying to get that top groove dusted off.
I'll make a slight correction from earlier. Aaron Smith did not necessarily choose to start at the back of the field, given an end-of-line penalty. I'm wondering if he asked for that. I'm not too sure. Either way, it's going to be a tough one for the championship leader. Side by side between the 00 and the 83, Mike Koch and Brandon Mefford fighting over 9th place. And inside line here for Koch. But will he be able to pull it off? This track is so wide that you can really take multiple lines around here. Kevin McCann, meanwhile, fastest lap out of 7th. He's really working it here on board with Mike Koch. We can see that he's still maintaining that outside line, getting a little bit of extra traction off the exit of the corner, and manages to secure that position. 9th place for him, and under no pressure for the time being, but he's going to have to watch out for Jason Higginbotham there, end of the blue and white machine, the number 44, going to the inside now of Brandon Mefford. He makes that pass for 10th place. It's also side by side, just up ahead. Chris Wally and Kevin McCann are really dicing now, and it looks to me like the lead has been eliminated for Chris Mefford. The draft has really come into play, and now Brian McCann is right on his tail.
And we saw this at Daytona. McCann is just a master of reading that draft. It seemed like he kind of got a little bit unlucky with strategy, but he showed at Daytona he is very good at managing the air. And looks like he may be trying to take that to his advantage now as he works around Mefford, kind of taking a peek high and lows, getting the lay of the lane.
Sticking right behind the rear bumper of the 46 Camaro here. Widen the arc into turns 1 and 2. You can see the feedback through his wheel, really demonstrating how bumpy this track is, and the minor corrections that he's having to make in the middle of the corner as well. It's flat out in an Indy car around here, but certainly not the case in a stock car, as there is the move. He's going for the lead, is Brian McCann. Will he be able to pull this off? Inside line into turn 3 is going to work out well. Method lifts off and lets him go.
I feel like Mefford probably could have fought that one a little bit more, but being so early in the race, decided to let him have it. Sometimes you can see a little bit of a switchback with that type of pass in turn 4. And already Mefford actually going to take a peek to the inside, but decides against it and will now fall back in line behind the 3 machine.
We'll see what Brian Kaufman and Nathan Bishop here in the 27 can do now. They're dragging a nice train of cars along. Chris Wally just up behind them in the dark blue and yellow machines. Some very nice liveries coming out of this series. An absolute pleasure to behold this grid in all its colourful glory. It's a little bit of a late apex there for the number 27, trying to get a straighter run onto the front stretch. McCann not troubled for the lead so far. Looks like Chris Mefford might be in a little bit of conservation mode at the moment, but he's going to have to keep an eye out there for Brian Kaufman.
Yeah, Kaufman's another one to watch. He showed a great speed at both races we had at Daytona, and definitely is another driver that could be a threat here today. Also, I don't know if I like or if I'm angry at the fact that the font on his paint scheme is different than all the other ones.
Yeah, he's going for more of the default iRacing number font there, isn't he? Certainly stands out in the midst of all of these snazzy numbers. Top 4 incredibly close here coming into turn 1. You could say top 5 as well. Starting to break away now from the rest of the pack here, with Kaufman starting to fall off a little bit and fall under some pressure from Chris Wally there. You can see a move almost happening there for 6th place. An update on your championship leader, Aaron Smith. He hasn't made much progress beyond 31st place. He's still down there in the number 70. And side by side now, there is Aaron Smith, now up into 30th place. He's starting to make more moves. Auto Club being a track that's very heavy on slipstream, sometimes you'd think that drivers would make quick progress up the field, but of course the cars are running restrictor plates here, so it kind of caps their top speed a little bit. It really forces you to work your way forward.
Yeah, it's really a management game. I mean, you have to really be on the momentum. You can't give up much room. And one thing that's really cool here, though, is that you have these drivers that are making use of as much of the track as possible. We saw there with Kevin McCann. He would sail it off into the corner, go to the bottom, and then you see him drift back up towards the top and really using every lane possible there, running in the middle down the front straightaway off into turn 1. And it seems to be working for him. He's marched up to 3rd and doesn't look like he's slowing down yet.
That little bit of fighting for 3rd place has allowed the top 2 to break away slightly, though. There's still a chance that they'll be able to catch up with a caution, and of course they are likely to have to take at least one pit stop on the way through here on board with McCann. You can see the pressure that he's under here. He's up into 3rd now. What he's got to do is get into the slipstream and try to draft his way forward up to Chris Mefford, but you can see that Kaufman is not letting him go.
You know, I gotta say, I am really jealous of that monitor setup. I'm rocking 2 old TVs over here, and he's got the big old curvy boy.
And he has. It's great to see the variety of setups that drivers have in the real world to do their sim racing. Looks like a lot of drivers are, taking it nice and easy through the turns. They want to try and preserve the tires a little bit more for some big runs later on. And the field is spaced out nicely, but you can see that there's a big pack happening further back here. Mike Koch, we take a look at in the 00. He has got Brandon Mefford to his outside and lifts off a bit into turn 1. Got the inside line though, so might be able to maintain the position. Now it looks like Mefford is, Jason Higginbotham there, making the move around the outside, but then to the inside will come Brandon Mefford in the 83, and it looks like the number 8 of Hunter Tate is going to try and follow him through.
You have him to the inside of the 00 there, heading off into turn 1. We'll keep an eye on him as he moves now towards... It's a really interesting effect that you see there. It really feels like you close up on the car in front of you. I think they call it the concertina effect, if I remember right, where everyone's kind of letting off or braking for the corner, and it really feels like you get a great run on the guy in front of you, and then he gets on the gas and just drives away.
Yeah, you see that an awful lot when the field is still bunched up at the start of an event. Racing through this, oh dear, little bit of a tap to the wall there, unfortunately for Mike Koch. Doesn't look like it was too much of a problem, but he's going to have to be careful of that. You get on the throttle too early at a track like Auto Club, you don't have the high banking to save you. You check a replay of it. Makes his way into the corner. He was actually wide on the entry, so already having some trouble setting the car up for turns 3 and 4, and then tap, just a little bit of a biff to the right hand side of the car, but doesn't seem to have slowed him down all that much.
Yeah, it's amazing when you get the entrance wrong and you're just kind of off your rhythm for the corner. That wall comes up quick and bites you, and then going that kind of speed and coming through the corner or off the corner like that, and that wall will just keep you glued to it. It's like you can't get away.
Some great fights going on in the top 10. We're looking at this fight here. Mefford, Higginbotham and Tate trying to find their way past Ryan Kaufman. Number 83, meanwhile, Mefford making his move on Kaufman once again to the inside and makes his way a bit further up. Kaufman is trying his best to preserve positions here. He's down 2 from where he started, lost out quite a bit in the first couple of laps, but he's wasting no time trying to work his way forward to that three-way battle up ahead. You see Bishop and Wally in the midst of it as well. Oh, and Bishop, I just saw, ran a little bit wide on the way into, I think, turns 1 and 2, sorry. This is going to be an interesting one if this fight between Bishop, Wally, and Kaufman ends up going off. And that's going to bring Mefford, Higginbotham, James Kaufman, and Hunter Tate right into the midst of this fight. In fact, it looks like they're already starting to catch up to them.
Yeah, battling like that on track will definitely allow the cars behind to catch up. Typically, you want to kind of stay in line and try to use the draft to your advantage. But of course, race car drivers don't like to think that long term ahead, so you'll see them still duking out for position, and it allows the cars that are trailing them to catch up.
Let's see what they can do then. Coming into turns 3 and 4, Bishop's still holding on. But Chris Wally is really pressuring the back of him here. Will there be a move down the front stretch, a slightly tighter exit for Chris Wally, and you can see the slipstream starting to work there. But it looks like he's content to just sit behind for now. He knows that there's drivers battling behind him, so doesn't want to cost anyone any time trying to make big moves. A very big lift into turn 1, but he can hook up the exit very nicely wide. Meanwhile, for Brian Kaufman, it's going to allow Brandon Mefford up the inside. Mefford continuing his steady march forward here. And there is the move up into 6th place, back to where he started for the number 83. Shout out to Troy Radford in car 94, meanwhile. He's been making big moves through the field. He's up to 14th place, 21 positions gained.
And that is a huge gain in a field that is as a level of playing field as this one. I mean, this is not a track where that's necessarily the easiest thing to do, but Troy is definitely making moves. He had a really great run in the shootout about 3 weeks ago. Unfortunately, last week kind of got caught up in some incidences towards the end of the race, and I think that may have definitely held him back from showing off his true potential, but he has obviously made up for it here today, showing that he is bad fast in that 94 machine.
Oh, big change. It looks like we've got our first tour into the pit lane. Looks like that's Brian Kaufman going for his first pit stop on lap 20. That is a bit of an early call, I think. Remember, they're only allowed 4 sets of tyres total in this race, and we've completed a 5th of this event so far. If this race goes caution-free, then Kaufman is going to have to do a bit of tyre saving down the line.
Yeah, but if he gets out of there cleanly, doesn't lose too much time, and is on slightly better tires, and we have a caution in the next couple laps, it could come out to his advantage.
Certainly could. Let's see how quick the pit stop is here. Wow, that is over in a flash. 8.3 seconds. Did he go up on the jacks? I'm not too sure.
It didn't look like it.
It's a chance that he only took right side tyres there. So, that's interesting.
Well, that's still new right sides will definitely be an advantage against the rest of the competition.
Certainly will. There's been more jockeying for position. Meanwhile, we're looking a bit further up the field here at McCann, Mefford, the 2 Meffords, in fact, making their way forward. There goes Chris Mefford round the outside, continuing his steady fight here. McCann, though, still leading. So we'll see where things pan out from here. It's amazing. The top 4, McCann, Mefford, McCann, Mefford.
It's like they trained for this.
Yeah, some nice synchronized driving from those from these drivers. We also should mention that 3 laps ago, Cook Quick took a pit stop, so it's another early call into the pits there. And Quick has actually fallen a lap down thanks to that stop. He was running towards the midfield, the back of the pack, so this is going to be a difficult march forward for him. Here come more drivers into the pits meanwhile. Chris Wally and Troy Radford both making their way in around the lap 24 mark. That tracks to about a quarter race distance, making full use of one of their 4 tyre sets. They are joined in the pits by Brandon Leclerc.
So I imagine Troy Radford needed a new set of shoes after pretty much driving the wheels off of it, coming up all those spots.
Yeah, definitely. It was a good advance up the field for him, but he would have burned through quite a bit of those tyres. We see 4 going on for the 01 machine, and out of the pits he comes, but Radford is going to come out just ahead of them. And it looks like they will fall a lap down because of that. Those are your leaders just going by there. But they won't be a lap down for long. The leaders will undoubtedly be coming into the pits very soon. They're starting to face up against their first little bit of traffic here out on track, but it's not as much of a problem on super speedways as it is on some tracks because you can make use of the slipstream. There goes the 33. Goodness gracious, and it looks like actually might be going for the pits there, Chris Mefford. Indeed he is, and he's followed in by his fellow Mefford. Into the pits they both come. Bit of a synchronized strategy here from the Meffords. Let's see if it pays off for them.
And another element here is this is a track where the undercut can be pretty effective. Your time drops off so quickly that some of these drivers that are getting tires earlier on can actually make up a lot of ground on the leaders if they hang out too long.
Let's compare the pit stops of the methods. Chris got his tires on nicely, and looks like Brandon getting it done as well. A bit of a slower pit stop for Brandon, but they will still come out reasonably in the midst of all of this. Also in the pits, Jarrett Widener, David Brown, Mike Harper, Jamie Abril, Dakota Clark, Ray Radford also in the lane as well. A slow pit stop as Kevin McCann comes into the pits. So looks like the McCanns are splitting their strategy. An interesting call there. Brian is going to continue on for a couple more laps. Take a look as he makes his way around the 54 of Hunter Clark, with drivers coming into the pits. It's only the top 15 now who are still on the lead lap, but McCann's having a couple of issues getting by there. And you did point out, Chris, Brandon Method had to back up his pits. We did indeed catch that, so unfortunately that is a little bit of time lost for Mr. Method. Have a look at this. Pit lane is really coming alive now. There's drivers pitting from the top 3, top 4. Tate, Bishop, Koch, Pendergraft, Tumbly, Funkhauser, and Walker all in the lane now. So it's just Brian McCann, leader from a couple of laps in, and Tim Schofield, who have yet to come into the lane.
Yeah, at this point, I was thinking McCann was definitely gonna need to hit the pits here sooner than later. I gotta imagine he was just giving up so much time. I mean, already 2 seconds slower than what his fast lap in the race was. So he's well overdue for a new set of tires.
Yeah, that's quite the insane drop-off on tires for a track like this. So Kevin McCann then. We'll see what this ends up doing. McCann towing along Chris Method here. And we'll see what the undercut is worth here as they make their way onto the front stretch. McCann's only just pulled into his box, but he is now away and out of pit lane. Number 3 with 8.6 seconds stop. About as quick through the lane as Kevin and Chris, but you'll see that the greater momentum here, plus the undercut, is going to result in them sailing by as he makes his way out of pit road. But he's going to come out just behind them, so he picks up the slipstream instantly. I think a reasonably good play here from McCann. When the cars start getting towards the end of this tyre stint, he will have the advantage.
Yeah, and he was able to get through the pits fast enough that he didn't lose a ton of track position. So it looks like he's actually going to work out pretty reasonably well with this one. I think Kevin and Mefford definitely had the better undercut, which we see that kind of taking advantage here, but still not in a bad position at all.
You see Jason Higginbotham there in 3rd place as well. Undercut working well for him. He pitted 7.5 laps ago. We'll give a shout out to Mr. Reek. Have a look at this. He's involved in a battle at the moment. Brian right in the midst of this fight with Curtis Rogers ahead and Stoney Benfield behind. It's going to be a little tight here. The number 48. But letting him go for a moment is Brian Reek, but oh goodness, the 48 is having a bit of trouble keeping it stable in the middle of the corner. Tighter line, I think, getting the rear out of line. Of course, this is a fixed setup series, so the only thing drivers can really change is their brake bias on the fly, but at an oval, you wouldn't really be thinking about that, aside from when you come into pit lane, and even then, you want to run your bias quite far to the front so that you don't lose the rear on the way in. Side by side, meanwhile, for 2nd place, the 2 McCanns here up the front of the field, but Chris Mefford now having to defend from Brian McCann in the number 3. Side by side on the way into turns 1 and 2. Easy does it, boys. And have a look at Chris Wally. He's really taking advantage of this fight. You run side by side through a couple of corners, and then, hello, it's going to be 3 wide on the way into turn 3. Brian McCann lifts out there. He doesn't want any part of that, but Wally goes sailing through on the inside. It's a good move there. Wally, of course, pitted nearly 9 laps ago, so his tyres are going to start hurting soon. Might as well make those moves while he still can.
Yeah, that was a great move and great timing by Chris Wally there to move up when he decided to. That was a pretty calculated move.
Still side by side between McCann and Method behind as Dakota Clark comes out of the pit lane there in the number 17. Method with not as much of a run down the back stretch. McCann is ahead at the turn-in point for turn 3. And it looks like he's making the outside line work nicely. That's something that we've said quite a bit, Chris, in our past oval broadcast together here on GSRC. Sometimes the outside line is where you want to be because you have a straighter run out of the corner. You're able to get on the throttle much quicker.
That is for sure. And, you know, in all this, I don't know if we mentioned it, but Jason Higginbotham finds himself at the front of the field now with a pretty good margin over the field. 2.7 seconds. That's about the biggest lead I think we've seen all day.
Yeah, Higginbotham on the second tyre stint has really been taking a lot out of that car, and he is well in the lead now by 2.8 seconds. All of that battling for positions behind would certainly have helped him out there. He actually made that move a few laps back, and he has been streaking away now from the rest of the field, being assisted a little bit by the number 47 of Ray Radford. But Radford jumps out of the way now, and it's going to be a clear track ahead for Jason Higginbotham. So we'll see now if the drivers behind, if they can stop battling like this, we'll be able to catch him up. The 83 and the 70, Aaron Smith has made his way up into the top 10 now.
Well, after a little bit of a stalled start there during that last run, Aaron Smith is definitely making it count here in that bright yellow and black number 70, breaking into the top 10 and looking pretty strong here after starting from deep at the back of the field.
Trying to line up Brandon Method potentially for a pass here. Looks to the inside on the way into turns 1 and 2, and there is the move complete. We'll see if Method can fight it around the outside. He certainly can. Gets on the throttle a bit quicker on the outside line and carries that momentum out onto the back stretch. More cars coming out of the pits as there's been drivers who have waited quite some time to take their first pit stop. Actually, we've had a couple come in for a second stop, Bishop and Funkhauser in 36th and 38th. But looks like Aaron Smith having a little bit of trouble finding his way past Brandon Method for the time being. He'll have to hope for a caution, I think, if he wants to try and make his way further forward from here. They've got quite a gap to the cars up ahead.
Yeah, it's one struggle of starting that deep in the field is eventually you hit a point where the field's spread out, so you have passed everyone that's attainable, and now you just have to have either good luck with cautions or just some kind of supernatural pace to keep your march going on.
Smith is really diving it into the corners here, isn't he? And keeping himself in touch here with Method. Might have another go at a move into turns 1 and 2. Picks up the draft, and does he move to the inside? Yes, he does. So take 2 or take 3. Not too sure how many tries he's had at this. But will he be able to make the move, get it done? He is ahead as they come out of the corner, but the momentum will come back to Method down the back stretch. I think that Aaron might be dealing with a bit of frustration here. He wants to make that pass and try and move on forward, but he's stuck on the inside through these corners. Looks like, he was almost ahead there. Almost able to move up, but the tight line is not working in his favor.
Yeah, Brandon Mefford running in just far enough off the wall and just high enough up off the bottom of the track that he's really just taking away any advantage that Aaron has in that 70 car. He can get the run next to him through the corners because he's running the shorter line, but that momentum carries the 83 ahead. And it's such a frustrating spot to be in as a driver. You know you're faster, you know you can get by if given the right opportunity and the right room, but just not going to happen with the 83 playing a great defensive race right now.
Certainly stymieing the run of the guy who started from the back of the grid and vaulted his way up into the top 10, but it's almost as if Aaron Smith has hit a brick wall at this stage. I think now he's not quite going for the moves. Maybe he's electing to just sit behind and make use of the draft, save his tires potentially for another run further down the line. Aaron's tires are a lap older than Mefford's, so we might see him back in the lane again soon. Another green flag pit stop, try and undercut them. Or we could have a caution, as has just happened. Now, is this a random caution, or has there been an incident out on track? I'm scrolling through the field, and I'm not seeing anyone crashed.
Yeah, looking at the event log, looks like it may have been thrown by race control.
Yeah. Looks like it. Chris Wally, of course, one of the administrators of the sessions, currently running in second is Chris, and he has thrown the caution flag. Lap 41, the caution comes out, and that resets the field here. And this is potentially a free kick for a lot of drivers who are approaching the end of their tyre stint, like Cook Quick, who's currently running in 8th. Remember, he pitted nearly 24 laps ago, and that is effectively a full tyre stint in these cars.
Yeah, and really, I mean, I know they have limited sets, but any chance you can have to throw 4 tires on, I feel like this track is always a huge positive.
We'll see if Cook decides to jump on into the lane here, take advantage, have a fresh set of tyres when they go green. It is a stage caution that has come out, so we should expect another one towards the end of the race for the final few laps. It's definitely going to be an interesting one, but the field bunches up. This gives another chance for drivers like Aaron Smith to try and work their way forward.
Yeah, this will be a nice reset on this one, and definitely something that Aaron Smith is probably going to be pretty excited about, as it draws all that competition that much closer.
You could say the same for the likes of David Brown and Troy Radford, who are running in 11th and 13th. They're both up 22 spots each, but you see the entire field now coming in to the lane as part of this first stage caution of the race. And I wouldn't be surprised to see all of them pop on brand new tyres for this. We've got a few drivers that have stayed out on track, though. Chief among them, Bill Walker in car number 19. And also Hunter Clark staying out of the lane this time by. We'll see what they can do. Hunter Clark will get his lap back as a result of this. Potentially. We'll have to wait and see, though. Harper stayed out of the lane as well in the number 4. 17 laps complete on his set of tyres. Hunter Clark, 15 laps on his set. Same for Bill Walker. So, not too sure what the thinking behind this is. They're going to be in a little bit of trouble, these guys who have stayed out on those sets of tyres, but everyone else, meanwhile, has completed their pit stops, and it looks to me like Hunter Tate has elevated himself to the front of the field. Looks like he only took 2 tyres, did Hunter. That's vaulted him up to the effective race lead once Bill Walker comes into the pits. Higginbotham is still ahead of Chris Wally. Neil Quick, meanwhile, has made his way up into 5th overall. The McCanns are together in 6th and 7th, and Quick has managed to get his way past Aaron Smith.
That's a very interesting choice by Hunter Tate to only take 2 tires. I feel like with how effective tires are here, I really feel like he's going to be a sitting duck.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting watching the leaders try to make their way around him. We shall see, though. Coming into the pits, Bill Walker, and it looks like Cook Quick has made his way back into the lane as well, probably to get the other 2 tyres on. He was only stopped for 5.8 seconds. So we'll see how things work out for these drivers then. Hunter Clark made his way into the pit lane, so did Bill Walker. 16.6 seconds stop, 51 seconds through the lane, and that's one of the slowest times through the lane that we've seen so far, but not as slow as Kyle Pendergraft, who took 1 minute and 22 seconds to get from one end of pit lane to the other. Lights are off on the pace car, and we will go for the restart here to begin lap 45 at Auto Club Speedway. The field has pretty much compressed now, and we can see what Hunter Tate can do from the top of the field here. He's got Jason Higginbotham starting alongside him, but the likes of Chris Wally, Kevin and Brian McCann, Chris Mefford, they are all going to be raring to go to get by the number 8 and potentially the number 44 as the green flag flies. And Hunter Tate waited until the green flag to get that started. He still gets a really good run on the rest of the field as they make their way into turn 1 for the 45th time in this race. Higginbotham round the outside of Chris Wally, who's had a bit of a compromised run there down low. Kevin McCann's going to jump by him as well and make his way up into 3rd. They're almost 3 wide for a second there with Brian McCann down to the inside. Now Brian is a little boxed in here. He's got Neil Quick to his outside. Does make his way past Quick on the way into turn 3. Will he be able to line up Chris Wally is the big question. Hunter Tate has lost 2nd to Jason Higginbotham. Meanwhile, you see Higginbotham there in the teal and white machine at the bottom of frame. And, well, let's reset now and see what they can do as they're 3 wide back in the pack. Incredible racing here. Lions, meanwhile, having a very big moment. We're going to take a look at that. We'll see what happened to him. What on earth went on in the cockpit of Donnie Lyons? He was on the outside, coming out of 3 and 4. Just hit the wall, and oh, goodness gracious, he nearly lost it, but managed to keep it going. A little bit of momentum and a slight injury to pride is all that he has to deal with for now. Oh, goodness, this is looking interesting. Almost some contact there back in the pack. That was the
looks
number
like
11.
Yeah, looks like a couple guys trying to go for the same spot at the same time. I guess that's what happens when race cars don't have turn signals.
Yeah, exactly, or any kind of lights at all. These are stock cars after all.
But they have stickers.
Yes, they do, but they do not generate any lumens, unfortunately. They have to rely on the floodlights around the racetrack to light the way for them. So, Jason Higginbotham has now lost the lead to Kevin McCann. It looks like Hunter Tate is really falling down the order. He's back to 10th place now in the number 8. He's obviously had a big moment that we've unfortunately missed, but he's right in the midst of it all now. He's having to deal with David Brown and Brian Kaufman here. Kaufman trying round the outside, almost 3 wide for a second there. Oh, this is getting exciting now.
Yeah, Tate's just getting swallowed up right now. I think that definitely has something to do with the fact that he only took 2 tires that last stop. But we'll see how it shakes out for him. I mean, for all we know, he could still come out ahead from where he was, but he is dropping pretty fast, and we got a long way to go in this one.
Absolutely, we do. Beginning lap 49 now. The field's still very much compressed. And Tate is still falling back here. He's going to be lined up now by Brian Reek. See what Brian can do, trying to the inside here. They've got quite a few drivers behind them looking to try and take advantage as well. There goes Reek, and wow, he's vaulted it into the corner, trying to get alongside the 57, meanwhile, of Damon Cox. Wasocki and Raglan trade places behind them, and it looks like Reek decided to pull out of that one. Did look like he was firing it in at a rate of knots. Doesn't want to burn up his front tires too much here, but you see the 57 is, oh goodness, 57 sticking high, but Reek is turning in quite early, and that's costing him momentum, isn't it?
Yeah, you can see the look on his face. He definitely looks a little frustrated with how that corner went. So he is definitely aware of what you're talking about, Reese. He does not seem to be too happy with the way that went.
We'll see what he can do to hold off the drivers behind. He does have a good gap to Wasocki, who is holding up a massive train of cars. There's been contact and a car getting onto the grass. Jamie Abril, you see in the background there, he is going to lose massive momentum and quite a few positions out of that, but they are 2 by 2 on the way into turns 1 and 2 as Hunter Tate is trying his best desperately to hold on to more positions. You see what happened here to the number 20 of Jamie Abril, and just coming down a little bit. One of the cars there managed to recover. That could have been a much worse incident than it was. We'll see it here. The number 71, Gary Ragland, on the way out of turns 3 and 4, was 3 wide, and then, yeah, just came down a little bit. Unfortunate there. But thank goodness we didn't get a huge wreck out of that one.
Yeah, Jamie definitely could have that could have gone a lot worse for him. That contact I've seen before send drivers in much more perilous positions than that, so definitely a good recovery there.
We look forward to the battle for the top 3. Brian McCann still holding on to position 3 and the number 3. Chris Wally has a little bit of breathing room here because it's a 3-way fight behind. The 2 methods trying to make their way past Neil Quick here. And on the way into turn 1, looks like Quick with the advantage on the outside. Brandon Method picks up the white line a little bit there, which stymies his momentum out of the corner. Gives a bit of a chance for Aaron Smith to work his way forward a bit more. The methods are bump drafting each other meanwhile. McCann is definitely got eyes forward here, but he's going to have to keep an eye out for Chris Wally. He's looking very aggressive on the way into these corners, but you can see that that has completely killed his run onto the front stretch, and through will go Neil Quick on the inside. Neil is doing quite well here, up 13 places, and I mean, I did mention Aaron Smith briefly there, but he is on his way, is he not?
Well, we talked about how his momentum had stalled out because the field was so strung out by the time he got into the top 10. Well, that stage caution definitely bunched everybody back up, and Aaron Smith now is hopping all over it. He's up in the 8th position and continuing to be right in the thick of things with this huge gaggle we have from the middle of the top 10.
The methods are no longer bump drafting. One up high, one down low, and they're having to deal with Chris Wally here now. Let's see what they can do coming into turns 1 and 2. To the inside goes Aaron Smith. Will he be able to hook up the throttle and get the exit that he desires? Doesn't look like it for the time being. He was squeezed a little bit there, coming off the corner. And now could be a position swap once again here between Wally and Brandon Method, but Brandon now up to the top, and he could be joined by Chris here. They'll try and bump drive around the outside. Hello, that's a big call there. To the pits goes Aaron Smith.
Yeah, very interesting choice to stop at this point in time, but you know, he's been running pretty well here, and the strategy's kind of played out for him. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt at this point in time. But I am very interested to see how that strategy plays out.
I think with the field as bunched up as it is, perhaps Aaron is going to try and get some running in clear air, because you could see that in the midst of that battle, he was forced to use the inside line quite a bit, and would have been giving up quite a bit of time because of that, potentially, as the number 51 of Chris Wally comes in as well. Okay, so it looks like Aaron Smith is not an outlier here. It seems that a couple of drivers in the top 10 are thinking, okay, we'll sacrifice this set of tires and try and get a fresh set on them. Aaron Smith out of the lane. Meanwhile, he comes out in 30th spot. He will not lose a lap. And I think that's another thing that played into the decision there. He can pit without losing a lap here, but you can see that McCann and Higginbotham are just behind. This could be interesting. There was only a 6.3 second stop for Aaron Smith. Looks like he only took right side tires. 51, meanwhile, Chris Wally, also 6.7 seconds, so only taking outsides.
Yeah, it looks like that seems to be the go-to move on these green flag pit stops, which makes perfect sense. You get the advantage of the right sides, and you're able to get out a little bit quicker. So, makes good sense to me as Wally gets back out onto the track, and you can see the leaders stalking in the background. So he was able to get out ahead of them, and should be able to drive away.
Yeah, how far behind Aaron Smith is he? Looks like 3.2 seconds or thereabouts. So not quite picking up the draft just yet, but we can see that 42.9 second lap for Aaron Smith. That's the pace on fresh right side tyres as Neil Quick comes into the lane as well. Quick was right in the midst of that top 5, top 10 battle. So another interesting decision here. He's decided to go a bit longer on this set of tyres. Have to say that fresh tyres and clear air is working out well for Aaron Smith. He, as I mentioned, a 42.9 on the last lap. Kevin McCann in the lead of the race, setting a 43.1. And you can say the same for everyone in the current top 6. So gaining a little bit of time there. When these guys at the front eventually pit, we can see Aaron Smith vault through to the lead if he keeps that pace up.
Yeah, he's definitely shown he's got great pace, and not afraid to try some things and maybe set off the green flag pit stops. So Aaron Smith, I think, has a big potential to be a strong contender here towards the end of this race.
Interesting point. Neil Quick did not take tyres in his stop. It was fuel only. So obviously he thinks that he can continue a little bit longer on this set and doesn't want to give it up too soon. We have more drivers coming into the pits meanwhile. Looks like Chris Mefford has made his way in the number 46. Jesse King and Brian Kaufman as well in the 01, who was fighting up the front, also into the lane. James Kaufman in the pit lane as well. I can see Stoney Benfield has just come into the lane as well. So, well, here we go. It's the old green flag pit stop dilemma. At some point, you are hard-pressed to find out where anyone actually is on corrected strategy.
Yeah, this is this is easy for the commentators to get lost as we see green flag pit stops going on, but definitely creating some great racing action with the different strategies going on.
This is a pretty cool battle here. Brian Reek was just in the middle of 3 wide there with Curtis Rogers and Mike Koch. See the number 8 go down to the inside. That's Hunter Tate, who has fallen back something fierce, having only pitted 8 laps ago to get potentially a full set, yes, a full set of tyres on his car. Mike Koch, meanwhile, he's got a great view of all of this fighting. Got Reek to his inside, and oh dear, on the outside quite slow at the moment, so had to back out of it ever so slightly, but you can see the concentration on his face. This is the middle phase of this race, and it's at this point where you can start to have fatigue set in, you can start to have your mind wander, and that's where you can sometimes make your biggest mistakes.
That is a very fair point. You kind of get a little bit of tunnel vision at this point in the race, and you're right, it's very easy to make a mistake after driving for this long and trying to stay that focused.
Pit stop for Higginbotham. You see him falling down the timing tower. These guys will make their way by him. We'll see what Higginbotham can do here. Managed to get into the lead by quite some margin coming off the first stage caution. So we'll see what he can do. Coming into the lane, will he be able to line up his box? Slows down nicely there. Now, will he take just right side tyres? Will he take all four? Will he take no tyres? Hello. This is interesting, Chris. We're seeing a few drivers here gamble on not taking tyres in this pit stop. Now, that will give them an advantage towards the end. They'll have an extra set to play with. They won't have to focus on saving tyres at the end, but they're going to be hurting in this middle stage.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is that they're banking on a couple more cautions, and they want to conserve tire sets, but gosh, the thought of taking all that time to pit and then not getting tires at this track, it really stresses me out, so I can only imagine how they're feeling.
Now, the drivers in this series certainly put the time and effort into making sure that they can go the distance on a set of tyres. Higginbotham out of the lane here, and he's lining up Chris Wally for a potential pass round the outside. Hello. And considering that he didn't take tyres, that is pretty interesting there. I'm not sure if Wally decided not to take tyres in his stop. It was 6.7 seconds for Chris Wally. And Brandon Mefford is in there with them as well. Mefford has just come out of the pits, and his stop was 6.8 seconds. So possibility that he took only right side tyres, possibility that he also took no tyres at all. Pit stop from second, meanwhile, Kevin McCann making his way into the lane in the number 33. Brian McCann elevated to the race lead in the number 3 once again.
Now I'm sure we'll see one of the front runners like that put tires on.
Well, looks to me like that was a very quick stop there for the number 33, so a chance that he is yet another driver who's not decided to take tyres. Number 70 of Aaron Smith will move ahead, so that shows you what the undercut is doing here for Aaron Smith. Have a look at the momentum he lines up coming out of the turn 4 exit. He's going to draw level just about. Oh, here we go. Outside line. He's going to be stuck behind another car here. But again, that's not the worst thing to happen on a super speedway. He still has the benefit of the draft. He can afford to back off a little bit, potentially save his tyres here. He's already been on for quite some time.
Well, that might be a chance to tell if the 33 got tires if he's able to drive away. But there's a... Yeah, this is throwing me for a loop here with all the different strategies going on. It's got me really excited to hopefully see into the future here in about 20 laps and really see who picked the winning way.
Indeed, I've got to say that Brian Reek is doing really well. He's elevated himself up to second now. actually playing the middle phase of this race extremely well. And he's on the same strategy as everyone else in the top 8 at the moment. In 9th is Kevin McCann, in 10th is Aaron Smith, and Smith, of course, pitting nearly 14 laps ago. There goes the number 3 on the way into the lane. Let's see what Brian McCann does here. He's gone for quite a distance on this set of tyres. 27 laps completed. I wouldn't be surprised if he decided to bolt on fresh rubber here. We'll keep an eye on him. Locks up the rears on the way in. Does the car go up on the jacks? No. It's a little splash and dash there for Brian McCann. Will he be able to make those tyres last?
Well, this will be where they earn their keep, trying to make it to the end on those tires, and unfortunately he's not going to come out ahead of the other McCann as well as Aaron Smith, so he'll lose a little bit of ground there, but still focused as always, so we'll keep an eye on McCann here.
That we will. Once he gets up to speed again, we'll see if he can try and vault his way forward. I suppose a small benefit that you can sometimes get from pitting and not taking tyres is the tyres have a chance to cool down a little while you're in the pit lane, and that combined with the nighttime conditions and 28 degrees Celsius track temperature is certainly going to give you a little bit extra to work with on the way out of pit lane. You can see that he's starting to reel them in just a little bit. It'll be interesting to see what he can do. Pitting from the lead, meanwhile, Brian Reek and Tim Schofield. And we'll see what Reek does here as he go up on the jacks. It's looking to me like no tyres is definitely the way to go in this middle phase. And these guys are now in the lead. So Aaron Smith, with that early call to pit, has certainly played his cards right here. Yes, he has come out behind Kevin McCann, but he's potentially on for another undercut on the way into the last pit stops. And don't forget, we might have another stage caution coming up very soon. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we're closing in on being in the last quarter of this race, and right now everyone's set up basically no tires running, or no fresh tires amongst your top runners, so with another caution, I presume, coming up, it'll be a nice reset, and I think that'll give us our outlook on what the last portion of this race is going to look like.
Indeed. Unfortunately, it looks like Brian Reek has come into the pits a second time here. He's only done one lap on that stint, and to add insult to injury, he's overshot his pit box a little bit. He is taking tyres this time. Maybe there was a little mistake there. Perhaps he intended to take tyres last time round, but forgot to check them. He is taking all 4, and I think that's pretty sensible. With 26 laps, with 26 laps remaining in the race, that is effectively a tyre stint. So Reek could potentially have that pay dividends later on, but he is still stopped in the box. That is not good news for Brian Reek. Got to be a penalty, I think. Perhaps he got a penalty for speeding into pits or entering onto the track too soon. Not too sure. But either way, that has ruined the race of the number 11. But how about the number 3? Trying his best to gear up here for a pass on Aaron Smith, who has lost touch with Kevin McCann in the last couple of laps. They got a bit of traffic to deal with as well. That is the number 17 of Dakota Clark, letting them go. Going nice and high. But the number 3 of Brian McCann is through, and it is a McCann 1-2.
You see Reek finally making his way out of the pit area, and gosh, that's got to be a tough pill to swallow. He was having a pretty good run today, so going to be a tough break for the 11, but Aaron Smith up into the second spot. Or, excuse me, third spot. Oh, and there's that stage caution.
Okay, so 76 laps completed. We're on for a grandstand finish here at Fontana, and we'll wait and see what kinds of strategies will eventuate in the final stages of this race. Who will get some fresh rubber here under the stage caution? I would say the majority of the field. We'll find out very shortly. We're going a quick break here as the drivers slow up. You're watching the Global SimRacing Channel, the IROC Challenge Series, Round 2 from Fontana.
Spartan Transportation and Spartan Logistic Management is your one source for all your shipping needs. 53-foot dry van shipments, auto transport shipments, full-service in-house brokerage, drop lot facilities, just-in-time deliveries to all auto manufacturers, facilities in St. Louis, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, and Indianapolis, Indiana. Spartan Logistics LLC, proud sponsor of the IROC Series, Kyle Steffens UMP Modified and Silver Crown Driver, and Gordy Gundaker, World of Outlaws Late Model. Visit us at spartan-logistics.net or find us on Facebook.
Well, everyone coming into the pit lane here in round 2 of the IROC Challenge Series here at Fontana. It's Reese Gardner and Chris Phoebe with you in the box. On the Global SimRacing Channel, big calls from the majority of the field to come into the lane. Our pole sitter, Aaron Smith, makes his way in, and I wouldn't be surprised if the vast majority of drivers here take all 4 tyres, and you can see them all going up on those jacks. But have a look there at the number 33. He's going to come out in front. Kevin McCann and Brian McCann are your leaders. Brian Kaufman vaults his way up into 3rd place. And where has Aaron Smith fallen to? He's still in the box.
Sitting there.
Oh no, it's all gone wrong for our fastest qualifier, Aaron Smith. It looks like he might have gotten a penalty of some description. And he's fallen all the way down into 25th. The car is still up on the jacks there. Oh dear. What on earth has gone wrong for the number 70?
This has, gosh, this race has been like on hard mode for Aaron Smith.
Yeah, end-of-line penalty at the start. Took the green flag from the back of the field. Worked his way up into a lead contending position. And now, only 22 laps from the end, he has completely fallen back down into 30th spot. He is going to have to drive the wheels off that number 70 if he wants to try and get even a top 10 at this stage. But it's good news for the McCanns as well as Brian Kaufman. And how about Troy Radford? Have a look at him in the number 94. Made his way back up into 4th place, it seems. And that is a position gain of 32.
Yeah, that's not a bad haul of positions for the day, as we're getting close to 20 to go here. So we're in the closing stages, and yeah, that is nothing to sneeze at passing that many cars.
Certainly helped out by that late stage caution as well. The field is effectively reset from this. Everyone is on a fresh set of tyres as far as we know. Let's see what McCann and McCann can do from the front row of the grid. Lights are off on the pace car, and lapped cars have been let by the likes of Brian Reek and Bill Walker. Also Nathan Bishop being let by as well. Coming through turns 3 and 4. This is going to be quite the interesting restart as the pace car prepares to make its way into the lane. Green flag held high by Barney, one of the hardest working employees at iRacing. And we'll wait for it to fly. Kevin McCann is going to take the start, and the green flag flies. We are away for the final stage of racing here at Auto Club Speedway. It was a good restart from Kevin McCann. Put the power down very nicely. Ryan, meanwhile, is going to have to fend off the advances of Brian Kaufman, but Kaufman, oh, he just made a little mistake there in turns 1 and 2. Pushed up just a little bit into Troy Radford, and now it's going to be 3 wide with the 2 methods on the way into turns 3 and 4. Brandon with a really good run there in the number 83, and he's going to take that place, if only for a little bit, from Brian Kaufman. I can also see, trying to round them up here, Chris Wally, who's running a high line there in car number 51. Oh man, I'm so hyped for this, Chris. Look at this. The field is so bunched up here. There's cars all over the racetrack, but fortunately, they are all moving forward.
I was feeling bad for Troy Radford in the 94. That incident on the last lap where he got kind of pushed up out of his groove and lost a little bit of momentum, but he is recovering nicely and already back on the attack.
Yeah, he is really pulling in Chris Mefford at the moment, and he's not going to have to worry about Brian Kaufman for a little bit, because Kaufman's having to deal with Wally there, who's just made a move up the inside into turns 3 and 4. Oh, that was a big save there from Brian Kaufman. Goodness gracious. Unfortunately, he's going to lose a few more positions from that. Hunter Tate moves by, as does Neil Quick. And Tate and Quick, they've definitely moved up very nicely in this field.
Yeah, it's amazing at this point. Everyone, for the most part, playing nice here, and even though we're getting closer towards the end, and gosh, there's so much 2 and 3 wide racing, it's almost hard to find one subject to talk about here, Reese.
Yeah, indeed. There's so much that's gone on in this race. It's insane, the amount of differing strategies and varying fortunes in this second round. It's only the second round of the series. We've got plenty to go. We're going to be broadcasting for the rest of the year here on GSRC. What on earth does the rest of the season hold? If this is what the first couple of rounds are like, someone got into the wall there. That was Jesse King. Jesse King spinning around, and that's brought the caution out, and drivers, some of them getting their ARCA brakes on, going right into him. That's taken out a few cars. David Trumbley has lost his front end. Donnie Lyons going for a big spin as well. We'll see what happened here to Jesse King in car 25. Was this contact with the 8? Yes, it was. And, oh, yeah, coming down, and looked like that was Higginbotham, potentially, who got into him slightly. And, oh, God, at that point, what on earth do you do?
Yeah, you can see him and Tate racing side by side, the 2 purple cars there. And here you have them going through the corner, and Tate there to the outside. Well, it looks like Tate was coming down as King was coming up, and sends King for a ride. And then as he's trying to recover, just catches Higginbotham right there, you can see. And unfortunately, that sends him for a ride against the wall, and from there it's just game over, and the rest of the field just piles in.
That's a big shame. Well, Hunter Tate made his way back through just then, but oh goodness, such a rate of speed. And I think potentially the internet gods were looking on a couple of drivers there. The number 70 of Aaron Smith, our fastest qualifier, this is his view on board. As the caution continues, he does make it through this. We'll see the incident happen just up ahead as they come onto the back stretch. Smith going for, yeah, there we go, well avoided. Goodness gracious, that had to be some very quick reactions.
Yeah, and it's not like he was just trundling along, coming towards that caution. He was in the middle of a three wide situation, coming through one and two, and then once that settles down, oh, by the way, we're going to throw a bunch of spinning cars right in front of you. Yeah, I'm not sure what difficulty Aaron Smith signed up for today, but he may want to back it down for next week.
Yeah, potentially. Oh, goodness. We're only going to have 15 laps to go here. Potentially going green with 14 to go as lapped cars are let through. Man. So we've got 2 cars down in the pits at the moment. Ray Radford and Jesse King. Donnie Lyons, David Trumbley and Jarrett Widener also in the lane, as is Hunter Tate. Hunter has elected to bring that car in after that little bit of contact. Donnie Lyons, though, who was involved in the wreck, managing to get some small repairs done, potentially a fresh set of rubber as well. He comes out of the pits, as does Jarrett Widener. So we're seeing that even Jesse King is making his way back out as well. The car is still damaged, the number 25. The rear end is looking a little bit substandard, but he will come out ahead of the field there. Yeah, have a look at that rear. Goodness gracious.
It almost looks like it's trying to smile.
I'll tell you what, there won't be a smile on Jesse King's face after what happened to bring out that caution. Fortunately, he does remain on the lead lap, I think. And, yeah, I believe he does. So, here we go then. Lights off on the pace car. And this could be the grandstand finish that we are expecting. Kevin McCann and Brian McCann are on the front row to take the restart. And it's the two methods, Brandon and Chris, starting behind them. Troy Radford is still up there. He could be looking at a top 5, maybe even a podium after starting out of 35th position. Chris Wally has been up in the fight for the top places. He still remains in 6th. And Neil Quick is a driver who will certainly be looking for a good finish after starting out of 17th. Stoney Benfield finds his way into the top 10 as well. Pace car is in. The start will fall under the control of Kevin McCann. And away they go, green flag, and it looks like Chris Mefford, he tried to go a little early there, give the hurry up to the number 3 of Brian McCann, but McCann was a little bit slower off the start. He's going to lose 2nd place here to Brandon Mefford.
Well, we've seen that issue happen for the McCanns before, where they, they'll dominate a race, and then in the closing stages, things can get away from them a little bit. So far, Kevin able to hold on up front, but Brandon Mefford up into the 2nd spot and looks to be in a pretty strong position. And I think Troy Radford there in the 94 is going to be a real threat here as we close in on 10 to go.
Down to the bottom, across the front stretch of Auto Club Speedway. A little bit of a better run for Chris Mefford, though. The yellow flag has come back out instantly. And it looks like it was for a crash. Hunter Clark involved in an incident. Actually looks like it was brought out by the number 11 of Brian Reek, potentially. Reek got massively unsettled on the way out of turn 4. Contact with Bill Walker. You'll see Bill Walker here. Looks like Reek tried to come up. And unfortunately, Walker was still there. And a few more cars were involved in that one.
Yeah, this wide view should tell a pretty good story here. You see him make contact, and then a little bit of a tank slapper going down the front stretch, and he goes, as he's going through the grass, it just kind of collects up at the top of the track there with Tate in the 8 car.
Yeah, looked to me like Hunter Clark lost it due to a little bit of a tap from the number 11 and just came up into Hunter Tate. Very unfortunate. There's the view from Hunter. Ah, man. That is 2 cautions in a row that Hunter Tate has been involved in, but through no fault of his own this time. Goodness me. This is... I don't know what to make of this, Chris. We're going to have 10 laps to go, I think, when this caution ends. We had a very clean first half of the race, didn't we? We only had the stage caution to think about, but now that we're in this final half, things are really going off, as there's the fake out from the Meffords. Doesn't fall for it, though, does Troy Radford.
Yeah, very cool little fake out there.
I mean, at this point, you probably wouldn't want to come in for tyres unless the leader does. And even then, it probably wouldn't be a smart decision to come in for tyres at all at this stage. You only have 11 laps remaining in the race, and pretty much the whole field's tyres are only 12 laps old. So there's still plenty of life in that rubber.
Yeah, definitely too early to make a stop. I think if we make it to the point where we get to a green-white checker finish, I think maybe at that point we may see a couple guys duck down pit road and try to eke out some spots at the end. But at this point, with only 12 laps on the tires, I think you want the track position more than anything with just a few laps left.
Yeah, at this point, track position is what matters the most. So, as we saw more towards the start of the race, it is McCann Method, your top 4. But Troy Radford is definitely making himself a known presence here in the battle for the top 5 places. I'm really impressed with the fact that A, he was able to make his way up in those early stages, and B, that he was able to hold on to it and still keep himself in this fight.
Yeah, he has definitely kept himself alive in this one, and with so few laps left, he, I think at this point, is definitely a very real contender.
Speaking of drivers who have gained positions, second most positions gained is David Brown, who's made his way into 13th here. David was a early advancer here and got the 70 of Aaron Smith up behind him. Smith, with that ultra-long pit stop, still managing to find his way back up the field. So keep an eye out for Smith, but David Brown, big shout out to him for managing to keep his car in the mix as well.
Well, there's just so many ways for this to go. With 10 laps left, Reese, and I'd be hard-pressed to pick a favorite out of the top 5.
Yeah, me too. I think that any of them could potentially take it. It all depends on how the teammates, the families, work together on this restart. We did see that it went a little bit wrong for the McCanns, and the Meffords have been working together nicely as well. But you see that they are going to be starting in their respective rows. The green flag flies as the pace car is in. Kevin McCann takes the start, and that's a well-executed restart from Brian McCann. He's going to move up into second and demote Brandon Mefford down to third on the way into turn 1. Lap 92 of 100 begins. We have 9 laps to go. Let's have a look at this then as they come out of turns 1 and 2. Still making himself a nuisance is Troy Radford, trying to get up the inside of Chris Mefford on the way into turns 3 and 4. And they're going to run too wide on the way in. McCann, number 3, trying his best to keep Brandon Mefford behind him and gets a slightly better exit out of turn 4, but he can't quite move down yet. Now he can, only just clear. But you can see that Chris Mefford is having some trouble keeping Troy Radford behind. It's brought Jason Higginbotham back into the mix.
And Higginbotham, another driver that's been very quick all day, has avoided a couple crashes that happened around him as well. So he definitely isn't afraid to get up in the mix. The Virginia's driver in the number 48. Yeah, 48. Numbers are 44. There we go.
Only 4 off, not too bad. Side by side up ahead. This is going to give them a nice potential at a move. Still side by side there. Higginbotham's having to make room to the inside though, because Chris Wally coming up the inside of him there in the right of frame, and you see just coming in is Neil Quick and Damon Cox. Damon Cox up 17 places, and he's made himself a presence in the top 10 in these final stages. It's all about those last few laps. Move, meanwhile, potentially for second. Brandon Mefford trying up the inside of the number 3 there.
We're getting close to 5 to go, Reese, and I feel like every time a new driver comes into the picture, ooh, it looks like Higginbotham may have gotten the wall. But every time a new driver comes in the picture, it's like, oh, I forgot about him. He could definitely win this. Oh, I forgot about him. He could definitely win this. And it's just more contenders keep making themselves known here. And a lot of guys that are going to have a great day. And, I mean, look, there's even Aaron Smith showing there just outside of the top 10. And he's been at the back of the field, what, 3 times today? I mean, it's just insane the way these drivers have been able to come up through the field.
Such as super speedway racing. That's why we love it. Number 57, meanwhile, Damon Cox trying to keep Chris Wally honest with Higginbotham, rounding them up behind. They're dragging along Stoney Benfield and Aaron Smith as well. That bright yellow Camaro. Fastest driver in qualifying. What can he do as we have 5 laps to go now at Fontana? The battles are going all the way through the top 10. The top 3 are very close together. It's a McCann 1-2. Brandon Mefford is trying to pressure them here for the win tonight. Troy Radford making his way past Chris Mefford and is starting to put some time on him. The top 4 are all together.
At this point, if we see a caution, it's definitely going to turn into a green-white checker finish. So we are in the home stretch here. Kevin McCann, you can see him focused on the screen there, watching his mirror, watching the field behind him as he watches the 3 car take a peek to the outside. But there, he's got the world behind him right now, and Kevin McCann is doing everything he can to make that car as wide as possible.
Indeed he is. They might be relatives, but both of them want to win just as much as each other, and unfortunately the door opens on the inside there, and Mefford trying his best here to make life difficult for Brian McCann. How is this going to go then in the final 3 laps of this race? Side by side just about for the lead. Is this going to be a try around the outside for Brian? Could hook up the throttle, but they nearly come together.
And that's a look of some steely determination for Brian McCann.
Oh, no,
they made contact!
Made contact! The McCanns both come out, and oh no! That was a brilliant drive from both of them that has been completely ruined now. Both of them will be feeling the disappointment. That is huge. Brandon Mefford lost out a little. That means Troy Radford now is up into the lead of the race. We stay green. There is not going to be a green-white checkered from that. The McCanns both got onto the grass and stayed well off the racetrack.
And that's just going to make it even worse for him. But Troy Radford, the driver who just seems to have had this race basically fall into his lap. He is beginning to drive away from Brandon Mefford behind him.
Oh, goodness, how the face of a race can change, huh? That's incredible. Neil Quick's made his way up into 4th. Stony Benfield is in the top 5 now. It is the final lap of the race. White flag has just been taken here for the number 94 of Troy Radford. What a drive. You know, talent is one part of it, but relying on mistakes from your rivals is another matter entirely, and that is what has given him the lead of this race coming into the final few miles of this grueling 100-lap race. Through turns 3 and 4 they come, and Troy Radford is going to take victory in round 2 of the IROC Challenge Series here at Fontana. What a brilliant drive. It's going to be Brandon and Chris Mefford who round out your podium. My goodness. What an incredible race that was. We'll go through our results and interviews with our podium getters when we come back here on the Global SimRacing Channel.
Spartan Transportation and Spartan Logistic Management is your one source for all your shipping needs. 53-foot dry van shipments, auto transport shipments, full-service in-house brokerage, drop lot facilities, just-in-time deliveries to all auto manufacturers, facilities in St. Louis, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, and Indianapolis, Indiana. Spartan Logistics LLC, proud sponsor of the IROC Series, Kyle Steffens UMP Modified and Silver Crown Driver, and Gordy Gundaker, World of Outlaws Late Model. Visit us at spartan-logistics.net or find us on Facebook.
Wow, what a finish. What a final few laps here at Auto Club Speedway for round 2 of the IROC Challenge Series. Troy Radford coming home with the victory after the two McCanns took each other out with a few laps to go. Brandon Mefford and Chris Mefford will round out your top 3. Neil Quick finishes in 4th. And Aaron Smith, it was an up and down race all the way through for our fastest qualifier. He will come home in the top 5. Stony Benfield finishes in 6th place with Damon Cox coming up just behind him. And it was only a 10th back to Jason Higginbotham, who was up the front the whole way through. Mike Koch and Kevin McCann are going to round out your top 10.
Coming in just outside of the top 10 was David Brown over James Kaufman in 12th. Cook Quick was 13th over Mike Harper. Then Brian Kaufman, Matthew Kopp, Kyle Pendergraft, Jesse King, Jarrett Widener, and Tim Schofield complete the top 20.
Finishing in 21st place was Jamie Abril, followed up by Gary Ragland. Brandon Leclerc is going to finish in 23rd place. Brian Reek, man, it could have been so much more for him. Unfortunately, a long stop, a potential penalty put him down the field. Chris Wally also getting involved in incidents late on in the race. Could have been a top 5 for him, but he'll have to settle for 25th. Bill Walker and Brian McCann, 26th and 27th. It's such a shame there for Brian. He led quite a few laps here tonight. Donnie Lyons involved in the wreck that brought out the final caution. 28th place for him. Curtis Rogers and Hunter Tate will round out your top 30.
Then closing out the field is going to be Hunter Clark in 31st over Joshua Funkhauser. Dakota Clark and David Trumbley next up, and then your final four there: Nathan Bishop, Todd Willis, Douglas Wasaki, and Ray Radford, all non-finishers.
Goodness gracious, that was an incredible race, but we'll get a chance to talk to our victor here, Troy Radford. Troy, congratulations. There might be some that say that fell into your lap a little at the end, but still, that's to say nothing of your climb through the field in the early stages. Talk us through it.
Hey, to quote Kyle Busch on Alex Bowman, all luck, no skill. So, definitely a lot of luck there. Did not qualify, so started way in the back. Just tried to keep it clean all race. That was really it. I probably had about a 4th or 5th place car. Just played my cards right, and the McCanns wrecked each other there at the end. And fortunately, where Brandon was at, he ended up a little bit lower on the track right when the contact was made. So I was able to get the run off. But, Brandon, I think, between Aaron Smith, McCann's, they obviously showed their dominance like they do every single week. So I just kind of try to stay in a good position, and, fortunately, good things happen.
Good things did indeed happen. How did you approach the strategy for this one? Because we went green all the way until the first stage caution. So green flag pit stops was something to contend with. And whether or not you took one set of tyres, a full set, or just right sides or no tyres at all of them were options at different points in the race.
Exactly. So the way they have the stages set up in here, I like to save my tires for the end. No, unfortunately, because there were so many, well, it's a good thing, but there were so many cars on the lead lap, I still had a set of tires at the end, but I was going to, if I came in the pits and nobody else pit, I was going to be back in the 20s to 30s, and I didn't have the car to come through like Aaron Smith did when he had to start at the rear for that stage. So, I was lucky to get through there. Just tried to save my tires as much as I could. Stage 1, to answer your question, I took no tires, so I was up into the top 10 from 35th and doing pretty good. And then just really, I lost a few positions there because some of those guys took the fresh tires, and I chose to save my set. So, it was close to a top 10 from 35th in the first stage, was top 10 in the second stage, and, it was really just kind of hoping for a top 5. So that was about it.
Well, it was the win for you, and who do you have to thank for it?
Of course, big shout out to all of my sponsors with the Lucky Finn Project, National Kidney Foundation, Evidence-Based Mommy, as well as the series sponsors with Spartan Transportation Logistics, R&R Racewear, 5-Star Graphics, and just everybody who puts on these shows. They put so much time and effort, and especially having a good league. Like Wally puts in so much time into doing this. So I, just want to make sure that everybody knows that he knows how much everybody appreciates him doing all this.
Yeah, indeed. It's quite an effort to put together a league like this. That's Troy Radford, your race winner here at Auto Club Speedway. Next up, we're going to have a chat to second place, the number 83 of Brandon Mefford, who's going to be stood by with Chris Phoebe.
Well, Brandon, great run for you today. With a couple laps left, you're just kind of running your race, sitting there, biding your time, and then the top two take each other out. What was going through your mind there?
Well, I knew that I wasn't going to beat them. Those two guys are class of the field, usually week in and week out. So, I actually made it 3 wide right there, and I was just going to show, back out, take the corner, see if they could, touch, and I could go by them. And, man, as soon as I showed the 3 wide, man, they touched and got wiped out. And I had no choice but to cruise it home in second. I had a little damage on the right front.
Now, was there any way you could have approached that differently, where maybe you could have gotten out of that ahead of the 94 still, or were you basically just trying to make the best of what the situation was at that point?
Yeah, so be honest, and I hate to admit it, but I wasn't sure what happened there, and I don't want to win taking someone out, so I did lift, kind of expecting a caution. And when I realized the caution wasn't coming, I got back in it. But Troy already had that momentum. There was no catching the 94. He didn't get out of it. He didn't panic, and he deserved the win. So
now, with a level of competition like we have in this series, finally getting away to some different tracks, different styles coming up in the next few weeks. What's your outlook on the next the foreseeable future here in this series?
I really enjoy this car. I think it kind of equals some of us out. And you'll see some guys that separates themselves from the field. Like I said, McCann's, Aaron, of course, Troy, and my brother Chris. They're all really, really fast, but my confidence is right there. I think I can compete with them and maybe go win some races.
All right, Brandon, anyone you want to thank that helped make today possible for you?
Oh, yeah, I want to thank you guys for the broadcast. I'd like to really thank Chris Wally, Spartan Logistics, R&R Enterprises, everybody that helps put this league on. Lucky Fan, man, it's just, this league's grown. It's incredible to be a part of. The racing, as you can see, is tight and fast. So thanks to all the drivers and everybody in the league. And then I want to thank my Falcon teammates, Chris and Troy and Doug and Matt, all of us out here racing, having a good time, learning from one another, bouncing ideas off each other. So that's how we're able to be up front like we were tonight. So, and then my family. I don't know, guys. I'm just thankful to be here in second place and taking this thing home and a good points night for me.
All right, that's our runner-up finisher, Brandon Mefford, here tonight. And back to you, Reese.
Indeed. We're going to chat to third place. Started third, finished there, but Chris Mefford, that is not the full story.
No, it was definitely a long, drowning race. I mean, it takes a lot of energy to wheel these things around here.
Certainly does. Super speedway like this one, it's pretty much the polar opposite to another super speedway like Daytona, where you can be flat most of the way around. You've really got to be careful of how you use the tires at a place like this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Early on there, I could really save because Brian and myself and then Kevin, we was all kind of running the same line and maintaining a pretty good speed. But once I got to pushing tires, I couldn't save the tires like everybody else. So they definitely had the shorter run for pushing. But overall, it was a good race. Me and Neil had a heck of a battle there at the end and definitely kept me honest.
Yeah, certainly did. And what goes through your head when you're going through a battle like this at a track like Fontana? The fact that you have to really be careful of your tires. You have to be careful of where you lift, where you get on the throttle again at a track with such flat banking.
Yeah, so it does take a lot of discipline on the tires. You really got to be careful on them. As for lifting early and this and that, it's hard to do. You really got to trust the guys around you to not run over you, because there's some guys that will push early and then fall off late, and there's guys that will ride early and then be strong at the end. So you really just got to know your surroundings, know the guys you're racing with, and then you can kind of plan accordingly.
Well, planning accordingly was what got you into third place tonight. Chris, who do you have to thank for it?
I'd like to thank you guys for the broadcast. Thanks Chris Wally and Pendergraph for putting up with all of us. I know we're not the easiest group. Congrats to Troy and Brandon on their great runs. Shout out to Race for Riley and Zoe's Place. We're having a charity event coming up here in the next couple months, couple weeks. Get with Brandon Mefford, Douglas Aki, or Tyler Hilton with those. Shout out for everybody. I mean, if we didn't have the stage breaks, I mean, we're talking 80, 90 laps, caution free. That's a heck of a job for everybody, especially how tight this track was.
Indeed. That's Chris Mefford there. Third place on the road tonight here. And a fantastic drive once again. Final driver interview of the night. We're going to talk to one of the drivers involved in that unfortunate wreck late on. Brian McCann is stood by with Chris.
Well, Brian, we could see a bit of a bemused smirk on your face there as the spin happened. Tell us what was going through your mind there.
Did y'all see that wreck on the straightaway?
I saw it, man.
Oh man, that was something else. Yeah, I was saving my tires there and running around in second place behind my brother, and I was we're in radio communication, and I was getting in his head, telling him, here I'm coming, and it was probably getting him a little worried, and I kept getting closer to his bumper, and then I was saving my tires the whole time, so I was gonna go last 3 laps, really give the tires all they had, and I did, and I started pulling them in, reeling them in, and got to the outside of them, and we had a heck of a turn 1 and 2 where I almost lost it, but coming out and down that straightaway, and he came up on me, and he told me he was trying to get my draft, but he didn't really calculate it too well there.
Yeah, worked you into a shoot a little bit there. Now you had a pretty good grin on your face, though. We noticed on the in-car camera as you were going through the grass. So this may be not the first time you and your brother have had a little bit of a run-in.
So on that last restart, we were talking about, should I just let you win? And then we swap, strategy. We were playing strategy. And he said, no, race. We're out here racing. And he told me that. So I'm like, all right, I'll race. So that's how all that got started.
Well, maybe next time tell him to race a little less hard.
Yeah.
But great run otherwise, Brian, and we hope to see you back next week.
Yeah, man. Thanks for the broadcast. It's amazing.
All right. That was Brian McCann, one of our top runners here today. Unfortunately, the night ending a little differently than he had hoped. So we'll throw it back to you, Reese, to close us out.
Indeed. Wow, what a run it was here at Fontana. We want to thank everyone for tuning in over the course of the night. We also want to give a big thanks to the sponsors and supporters of this series, like Zoe's Place, as well as R&R Racewear. We also want to give a big thanks to Evidence-Based Mummy, with Lucky Finn also on the roster as well. Loud Pedal TV, of course, and last but not least, 5-Star Graphics. I also want to give big thanks to the organisers of this league, Mr. Wally. You already heard plenty of the drivers thanking him in the interviews. We want to thank him as well for putting this series on, certainly putting on a great show. Thanks to the team today, Chris, Joe, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store listed on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Next race, of course, is next week. Charlotte Motor Speedway is going to play host on August the 11th, and be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here. Up next is going to be the Grand Prix Legends Series on Saturday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. They're going to be racing at Monza. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.